another day, a bit more wrapping. Stay with me, guys, and we're going to have a chat. We're going to talk about the weight loss journey. We're going to talk about MOUNJARO, what's happening, what's in the news at the moment with MOUNJARO. Very interesting, and I want to get your thoughts on that. But I'm also going to take you through my journey of being on weight loss, but really diabetic medication, and through the stages and all the different medical trials that I've been on. So stay with me, and we'll have a little chat whilst we're wrapping, and it was nice and cozy. So stay with me, guys. So I'm on the last leg of wrapping presents. I've got my sellotape, and what I've done, because I just kept losing my scissors, so I've got my scissors in here. I've got a couple of pens. I've got a Sharpie and a regular pen, so I can just discreetly write the name down on the present that I've wrapped for who it is, because I'm just coming to the end now, and I'm getting I'm like, oh, forget who this is for, because obviously it's not in the packet, it's not it's all wrapped, so I can't see what it is, so I'm all organised. I thought I'd just bring you along with me as I do the last few. I'm just bringing my microphone just a little bit closer. So how are you? I hope you're well. So I was reading in the news today, well, actually yesterday, I read in the news yesterday that there's a trial with, I've got it here, it's a trial with up to 3,000 people are going to take part in the first of its kind real world trial with MOUNJARO, which is the weight loss medication. And it's so the idea is they go along to, they've obviously been signed up for this trial, and they go along to their GP and they can access MOUNJARO, or tirzepatide is its other name. And the government is working in partnership with Lilly, who is the company that produces that. And the idea is that they want to run a trial to see how this medication can support people, not just with losing weight, but to help them in employment. So I think it's really interesting, and I thought we could talk about that today and share our views. And if you've heard of this trial, drop your views, share your views below. I would love to know what your views are. Now, let me just put a disclaimer out there. I've been on MOUNJARO. I am still on MOUNJARO. And for me, MOUNJARO has been absolutely fantastic for helping me gain my life back. It's really helped me with reducing the serious risks of type 2 diabetes. So on a personal note, I can't fault MOUNJARO. What I'd say is if you get medical supervision and you get all your checks and all your bloods done, and you're being supervised by your medical practitioner, I'd say absolutely go for it. MOUNJARO isn't right for everybody, and for some people it can be quite dangerous for some people. And I'm not a medical practitioner, I'm not medically trained, and that's why you always say go and get that medical intervention and that medical support. Even if you're doing MOUNJARO privately, then definitely get that support. Got another person right there. Definitely, please do that, guys, please. So, as somebody who used to work in the job centre and supporting people to get into work, I was quite interested to see what the government is doing. So my next present is this. There's some Lotus Star candles, set of two that I got from Poundland. So I'm just wrapping them up. So yeah, as someone who used to work in the job centre, working with people, and I must say, honestly, it is a really cracking job, supporting people who do want to work and to help them, move back into work. But I recognise, when I was working with people, I recognised that they have a lot of barriers. Some people, not everybody, because some people have lost their job through redundancy and they're desperate to get back into work. Other people might have had time out because of illness and they're just desperate to get back into work, into the right type of job. Other people might have been on maternity leave or maternity break and now they want to get back into work. So there are all sorts of reasons, and situations where I worked with people who were unemployed who wanted to get back into work. But I also worked on a team where people had a lot of health issues and obesity, and the effect of obesity was preventing them from getting back into work. It didn't mean that they didn't want to work. It was that there's a lot of challenges when you're overweight and you're obese. And one of the biggest ones, guys, is confidence. And when I started working in the job centre, I realised that actually you just cannot, and sometimes I get really cross when you see these programmes that are made for entertainment and they are just demonising unemployed people and people who have to live on benefits. From my time in the job centre, I can tell you absolutely nobody likes dealing with the job centre. Nobody. The process is very bureaucratic. It's not nice. It's difficult. Having to deal with the job centre. Nobody likes it. So the fact that some people, the only way that they can afford to live is by interacting with the job centre and getting money, it's not easy for them. And let me tell you, job centres can be really intimidating places. But as I say, some people have health issues. Just reach and get this one. I'm just wrapping up these festive teas. Some people have health issues, and when you have health issues, and as somebody who suffers with my health, when you have health issues and you have serious health issues, and I don't mean health issues that are like minor, like you've got a cold. I mean health issues like, you might be suffering with your mental health, or you might have something that limits your mobility, or a serious health condition like cancer. If you have something like that, and you're having to spend a lot of time at the doctor, in hospitals, be on a lot of medication, let me tell you, it's life-changing. Can be really, really life-changing. And the one thing that it can impact, which I can attest to personally, but also I saw that with a lot of customers that I worked with, is their confidence. Your confidence absolutely goes when you've got health issues, because you're not feeling yourself. You don't feel yourself, and it's easy to lose your self-esteem. So, and you've got, you might be waking up in the morning and you have to start your day, but some people may have to start their day on medication. I know for me, I used to have a cup of tea and then pop my pills, you know. So I'm like 30, 40 tablets a day, you know. That's hard. It's hard to live with, knowing that. So there's a lot of people like that who live like that, who live on a lot of medication, have got health challenges. Their life is all about going to see the doctor, to see, you know, doctors and specialists. So they're dealing with all of that. On the other hand, in order to satisfy the government, they have to have these appointments with the job centre, which can be really intimidating. And somewhere in between that, a lot of people want to work. They want to go out and they want to work. They either want to do get back doing some voluntary work, or they want to do some kind of training, or they want to do a job that's going to support their health condition. Certainly the majority of the customers I dealt with were like that. You do have a few, and it is the minority, absolute minority, who do not want to work, and it's generational. They might have, you know, their parents don't work, their grandparents, aunts and uncles, they, you know, and those are the ones that you tend to see on these programs. But then it's sad and it's really frustrating because it tarnishes everybody else on benefits, and people kind of think everybody else on benefits is like that, and that, let me tell you, certainly with the customers I see, that's not the case. And in fact, there's a lot of people who are on benefits who are actually working, and you know, benefits like universal credit tops up their earnings, their income, because for whatever reason they're not earning enough. But by far the majority of people they do want to work, but as I say, some people with health conditions, it's harder for them because of their health, you know. So, and especially if you're not working, you've got health issues, you know, you may start to gain weight. Like I did, I was on a lot of tablets, and a lot of the tablets that I was on, you know, especially steroids, you know, they serve a purpose in terms of, you know, minimising like inflammation and, you know, keeping your health condition under control. But on the other side, it can make you put on weight. So you got your medication, then because your mindset and how you feel, you're not active, you're not going for that walk, you're not going out in the garden, you're not physically active, you're sedentary. So then, you know, the weight can creep on, and then when people do put on weight, then that affects their self-esteem, it affects their confidence, it affects their mindset, and therefore, you know, they believe that they can't get work. Here's a pair of socks that I'm wrapping up. I have got, this is for somebody, and these socks, I have to tell you, are beautiful. They're from Poundland, and I've got the same as these, but in green, and they're oh my days. They feel like wool, but they're not. They're like polyester, but they're so beautiful, so soft. So I'm going to wrap these up. So yeah, so a lot of people, in my experience, they do want to work, but when you've got health issues, it can compound all of that. Then with the weight gain and everything that goes with that. So when I saw that the government was working with Lilly, the company that makes MOUNJARO, I thought this is going to be interesting. So I imagine the 3,000 people that they've signed up are probably, I don't know for certain, but they're probably people who are unemployed, and maybe long-term unemployed, and possibly people long-term unemployed with health issues. So this trial is happening in Manchester. I believe it started yesterday. So it's going to be really interesting to see the results of that trial. I'm not sure how long the trial's for. Let me just see if I can see it. just reading it off my phone. Or I can't see it straight away, but it does say in the report that people on MOUNJARO in other trials, loose trials, have lost up to 20% of their weight after 72 weeks of treatment. So that's about roughly a year and a half of treatment of being on MOUNJARO. People have lost about 20% of their weight. So it's going to be interesting how long they're going to be on MOUNJARO for, and also whether losing weight, one, is going to help improve their health condition, but also whether it's going to help in terms of their confidence and self-esteem and self-belief. And then I imagine that they would then work with the job centre and their work coach to find suitable work. So yeah, it'll be interesting. Guys, drop your comments and let me know. Let me know whether you think this is the right thing. Let me know if you've got an opinion. I'd be really interested to know. Pair of socks. So those are all wrapped. Yeah, I'd be really interested to know what you think about that. Having worked in the job centre and specifically with people with health conditions, and having been on MOUNJARO myself, lost a lot of weight, but also seen my health metrics, particularly my diabetes, improve, I can only say I think it's an absolutely fantastic idea, fantastic initiative. Yeah, because you know, what price can you put on somebody's self-esteem? You know, and if people can lose weight, improve their health, gain their self-esteem back, build their confidence, and then feel confident enough to leave the house, get a job, you know, or even just do voluntary work as a starter, or do a course that can lead them into work. I think it's a wonderful thing. I really do. I really, really do. So yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let me know. So yeah. So I'm wrapping these socks. So these are some Christmas socks. These have got little doggy in a jumper, and this is Santa. And these are for my 4-year-old grandson. And these ones, what I like about these, it's like the slipper socks. So they've got like the padding and the sort of, I don't know what you call it, but it's got that rubber base on the bottom, so they're like non-slip. So yeah, and they're nice and warm as well. So I did yesterday, you might see in an earlier video, that I wrapped some similar for my 9-year-old grandson. Now these are for the 4-year-old, so I'm going to wrap these up, and I'm doing that in the kiddies paper. So guys, so the other question is, would you consider going on having weight loss interventions? Let me put it that way. Would you ever, you know, have treatment to support you with weight loss? Would you ever consider a weight loss surgery? And there's lots of different types, such as the sleeve, the balloon, gastric bypass. Would you ever consider that? Would you ever consider something like hypnotherapy, where there is that altered state to the mind? I don't know how that works in detail, so please forgive me if I've got that wrong. Would you ever consider that? Would you ever consider the tablets, such as God, what's it called? Oh, I've got to just Google it. it was on the tip of my tongue the other day. Just bear with me. Weight loss tablets. It's one that's been on the market for a very, very, very long time. Orlistat. That's it. Orlistat. Would you ever consider Orlistat from the GP? Many years ago, I was prescribed. In fact, let me come back to that. Would you consider weight loss surgery, hypnotherapy, medication, tablets, or injections? Would you ever consider any of that? Drop a comment in the chat box and let me know. And if you have, if you've considered those, if you've tried them, or maybe you're on them, let me know what prompted you. What was the key driver to prompt you to do that? What was the deciding factor to do that? Let me know. So years ago, we're talking many years ago, because I have had a weight problem. I've had problems with my weight since I came out the womb. Let's be honest. Yeah, I've always been an overweight baby. Always been overweight as a baby, and then overweight as a teenager, and then that sort of snowballed, and I was overweight as a young adult, and then as a full-grown adult. I've always been overweight all my life. There we go. Just got a little bit of tape on that, just enough just to hold it down, and then my grandson can rip it open. Yeah. So, yeah, always been overweight. And when I can still see it now. I think this is 30 years ago. 30 years ago, I asked my doctor for some support to lose weight. Thinking about it, I was nowhere near as big as I actually got. I got to 12 stone, well, it'd be more than that, about 13, 14 stone overweight. I wasn't no near that. I was probably, I remember it was before I had my son, so I was probably about 12 stone, so it wasn't huge. But the thing is, I'm short, I'm 5'1", and, 5'1 and a half, let me add the half in, and the doctor clearly did think I needed to lose a little bit of weight. And this is after having been through Weight Watchers and Slimming World and, calorie counting and all of those things didn't work for me. So somebody that I knew said, doctor can prescribe something for you. So I went to the doctor and he prescribed some tablets. And he said, I'm going to monitor you really closely on these, because he said, they give the effect as if you've had speed, the drug speed. So you might have it and you might be really hyper and you can't sleep and you're on a high all the time. So he prescribed that for me. And I look back now and I think, why would my doctor prescribe that for me? But that was what they prescribed back in the day. We're talking 30 years ago. So I didn't like the way it made me feel. But then I think back, he actually told me that. And so I started taking that, looking out for this hypervigilance. And I think, would I have been so hypervigilant if I didn't know? Do you know? Because sometimes if you know something, you're looking out for it. But anyway, 2 weeks on, didn't lose any weight, so I stopped taking it. And then a few years later, when I was quite a few years later, when I was diagnosed with diabetes, I'd gone to another doctor and he prescribed Orlistat. Yeah, Orlistat. Now, let me just show you this. This is for my 4-year-old grandson. And if you saw my video and my previous wrap video, you would have seen this. But I wrapped one for my 9-year-old grandson. So this is for my 4-year-old. So I got him in size 3 to 4. So he is 4, but he's a small 4. A small 4. He's when I look at him when we were at home, I think, gosh, he's big for his age. He's grown. But when I see him with his classmates, he's the tiniest. He's absolutely a dot when he's compared to all his friends at school. So yeah, I've got him the 3 to 4, so I'm keeping the tag on again. I've taken the price on, but I'm keeping the tag on. So if it's too small, his parents can take it back. And this is of the Muppets. Oh my God, it is so soft. It's beautiful. So I hope he's going to like it. And then this is the trousers for him. And this just says animal on it. So yeah, so this is the Muppets. So I'm going to wrap this up for him, and this one's going again in the kiddies paper. So yeah, I had so I was prescribed Orlistat, and doctor said, give this a try. I went away, read it. So if I get new medication, I always like to read it. And it said that one of the side effects is it could give you an upset tummy. And when I've done a bit of research, it also recommended that you reduce the amount of fat that you eat in your diet, because how that drug works, and I'm not a doctor, okay, so don't listen to me, you know, but my experience of it was, if you was to eat fatty foods or starchy foods, the way that the medication works, it would flush that out of your body, and to eliminate it, break it down, eliminate it. And so it worked in 2 ways. One, you'd have less fat in your body, less fat. But second, it's kind of like, you know, because of the side effects, you're going to avoid it. So I remember I'll never forget the first time I had the medication. I'd not long finished eating a baked potato, and I can't remember what was on it. All I remember was it was a baked potato. It might have been like tuna or cheese or something like that, but Lord have mercy, I was in that low. Do apologise, but I was in that low, and I couldn't understand why, because I was like, well, it's not fatty. I clearly had a lot of fat in my body that I'd eaten in my gut, and it was now getting rid of it. And maybe it was the starch in the potato, but my body, after taking that medication, was getting rid. All I can tell you is it wasn't a pleasant experience. And honestly, I don't want to be graphic, but and if you've ever been on Orlistat, you'll know, it is not pleasant. So what that made me do was be really careful about what I was eating, making sure it wasn't high starch, and making sure that it wasn't fatty as well. So the ones Friday night, my friend was like, oh, we're going to have some fish and chips. Had a little bit. No. Bad idea. Very, very bad idea. My body was not happy. So, let me tell you, I lost a lot of weight. I lost a lot of weight just in that month that I was on it. But I was just like, man alive, this is just too much for me. It is the side effects are very unpleasant. And even when I thought I hadn't had anything fatty, I was still getting the side effects. So I stopped it. But what I realised was there's a lot of hidden fat in foods. But also I had to take responsibility. And what I realised was I wasn't reading labels. So something that, may seem low in fat or has got no fat in, actually did have a lot of fat in. So, even things that are low fat, even low fat cheese, it's still got fat in. Even things like chicken, if you cook it with the skin on, or it's, like a chicken thigh, it's fatty, it's still fat. It's going to flush it through. So realistically, anything, absolutely anything that had a smidgen of fat, even if it was natural fat, say fat off chicken thighs, it was a very unpleasant side effect. Very, very, very unpleasant. So I thought, that's not for me. Not for me. So there we go, another one. And again, I like just to put enough sellotape on just to hold it so that the kids can just get their hands in and rip it. And it's just, it's all part of the fun. So those two are for going to go in my grandson's gift bag, which is, this one here. So I'm not bothered about Christmas gift bags. It's just whatever gift bags I've got, and because they just take the gifts out, chuck the bags aside. It could be wrapped in newspaper for all they care. They're not bothered about that, so I'm not bothered about the gift bags. And I like to recycle, so whenever somebody gives me a gift, I'll keep the gift bag and then I'll just keep recycling it and passing it on. And then with me grandkids, I say to their parents, give me the gift bag back. So the kids take the presents out, and then I'll just take the gift bag home. I know. So what am I like? That's £3 there. £3. So this is now for my youngest grandson, and that is Minecraft. Fragrance. You might have seen that in the other video that I did earlier. And then this is his pyjamas. And then these are his socks. And then this is his aftershave. I'm not getting him any toys because that child has got, honestly, he can open up a toy shop with the amount of toys he's got. He's got baskets full of toys. He's got toys under his bed, toys on shelves in his room, toys downstairs, toys in the attic. And I said to my son, he does not need any more toys. And my son agreed, doesn't need any. So I said, I'm not buying him toys. The only thing I would buy him is an aeroplane, because he loves aeroplanes. It's like his mum and his dad. It's like his nanny and his dad. He loves aeroplanes. Now, I did order him an aeroplane off of Amazon, but it came, and I swear, it looked used. Half of it wasn't even in the wrapper. It looked used. I thought, no. So I sent it back. But I do want to get him a nice aeroplane. So I'm going to keep looking around. He's already got, I think he's got 4. I bought him an aeroplane the one year on holiday in Turkey, and it cost me, the one year his parents bought it him, and it cost €10, and we thought that was extortionate, but €10, which is about £10 for a little plane. Then the second time, the last June, was on holiday, and he wanted another plane, and this, honestly, they see you come in, and it cost me, so embarrassed to say, we thought 10 quid was extortionate, because if we'd have bought this plane in the UK, it would have probably cost a fiver, but it was £10 out and about on the streets in Turkey. And then in the holiday resort, it cost me 28 quid, 28 euros. I know. But he wanted it, and my daughter-in-law, she was like, you never paid 28 quid for that. I said, yeah. She was like, what? Why? I said, well, he wanted it. And I couldn't let him not have it. She goes, you're nanny money bags, you are. Nanny money bags. So I was like, not happening again. So when we went on holiday again in October, his parents bought a plane on the plane. Wasn't as good quality, but it was a lot cheaper than getting it in Turkey. So he's got 3, and then he's got his Peppa Pig plane. So he's got his whole collection. He just loves planes, loves them just like me. And his dad loves aeroplanes. So I thought, yeah, I'm going to get him a nice one. But so the one that I ordered, it looked used. So that's going back. It's going back. Well, it's gone back, and I'm going to try and order him another one, a nicer one. Yeah. So I did all of that. Wasn't working for me, and then I was in and out all the slimming clubs and everything. And then it was when I started doing mindful eating and intermittent fasting. Let me just stretch and get my next 2 things that I'm going to wrap. So so I did mindful eating. Well, it was my consultant, my lupus consultant. I'd gone to see her the one day, and she'd lost about 2.5 stone. And I said to her, how come you've lost so much weight? She says, intermittent fasting. She says, you need to check this out. She says, it's not just about weight loss, it's to optimise your health. She goes, Jason Fung, Dr. Jason Fung, check him out. So I went home, and I said to my son, have you heard about intermittent fasting? He goes, yes, Mum. He says, I've been doing it. That's why I've lost all this weight. Like, are you serious? You never told me. He goes, yeah. Because he was doing it whilst he was at uni. That's what it was. And then he'd come home, and I was like, God, you've lost a lot of weight. And then he tells me intermittent fasting. So, and then when he was home, he'd like, right, it's me eating window, I've got to do, and I didn't understand all of that. And I had so much going on with my health, with my lupus, with my heart and my lungs and my joints and all of that. I couldn't even take it on, I couldn't. But so I parked it, and then a few years later, when I was feeling better, I thought, well, I'm going to revisit this. So I did. And I spent loads of time researching intermittent fasting, listening to Jason Fung, Dr. Jason Fung, listening to all his videos and, his YouTube channel. And it made sense. It absolutely made sense to me. So I'm going to wrap this one. So this is the 6 luxury preserves. It absolutely made sense to me. And I started doing it, and it felt effortless. And I started seeing not just the weight loss, but I started feeling better. I wasn't as bloated, my belly wasn't so heavy, I wasn't as tired and lethargic as I had been. I was just feeling so much better. And then I started losing weight, and I was like, it makes absolute sense to me. It's not for everybody, and if you're thinking about doing it, definitely don't even think about starting it until you've done your research. Dr. Jason Fung, Dr. Minzy Pals, and even on the Zoe podcast, if you listen to Zoe, they are absolute advocates for it. And in fact, most of the medical doctors that I listen to, Dr. Stefan Ekberg, lots of medical practitioners on YouTube all absolutely support and endorse intermittent fasting. Loads of them, absolutely loads of them support it. So before, you know, if you're listening to me and you're thinking, oh, sounds interesting, before you go and start it, go and do your research and then talk to your medical practitioner. Definitely. Because intermittent fasting, it's a way of life. It's a way of eating. It's a time of eating. It's not a diet. So essentially you can eat whatever you want, you know, and I do support good nutrition, but it's about the time that you eat it. So definitely do some research. So I started on that, and then I started mindful eating as well. And again, mindful eating is about eating really slowly, being conscious about what you eat, how it tastes, the textures, and just slowing your eating down. And when I did that, huge difference it made to me, huge. So I'm going to wrap these now. This also is the luxury of reserve, but you'll notice it's not a standard shape. It's an unusual shape. However, if you saw the video the other day, I mentioned this girl that I used to know through my TV work, and she could wrap anything. And as I was thinking about how I'm going to wrap these, I remembered she would say something as, look at the shape of the item and get the nearest shape to it. So if it's an odd shape and it's closest to a triangle, closest to a square, go with a square. If it's closest to an oblong, go with an oblong. Well, this is closest to a round, so I'm going with a round. So what I've done is I've cut my paper and then I trimmed it. So cut my paper as a square, and then I've trimmed it into a round shape. So what I did was I popped this in the middle of my paper, and then I've just a good couple of inches just trimmed all around it. And then, so I'm doing my Blue Peter impressions now. And then what I did was pop that down there. So what I do, if you can see that, but then what I then did was I've got me round, and then I've gone from each point here and I've cut outwards. So got the point and cut outwards. So what that does, it now gives me like this, a flap, and I've done it all the way around. So now that is going to allow me to just wrap this up. So let me just pop this over here. Hope you can, let me just take my camera back a little bit so you can see. There you go. Hope you can see that. So that is nice in the middle. Okay. And then what I've done is I've cut from the edge and just cut outwards. So now that gives me a point. So I'm just going to tape that up like so. And then just fold these edges over. And I'm just putting one small piece of sellotape on, because I don't want this being, you know, just excessive with sellotape. And there's lots of cuts on it. So again, on this side, just folding it over like this. And then tucking the edge in, like so. And then this edge now, again, because I've cut it, trimmed it, that's going to come over like so. So yeah, and I'm just going to carry on doing that all the way around. Just little bits of tape. There we go. You can see now it's just forming nice and neat. So yeah, intermittent fasting and mindful eating is working for me, and that's where I lost the bulk of my weight, 9 stone, and then and within that also did portion control as well. So I realised actually it's a societal thing that tells me they need massive portions. I remember when I went to America, and we went to the Cheesecake Factory, gorgeous place, right? Food was absolutely delicious, but their portions was just humongous, and in my opinion totally unnecessary. So I remember my son wanted chicken wings, yeah. So my sister said they can share. So my son and his cousin, roughly the same age, she said, oh, they can share because it's a massive portion. And I was like, oh, it can't be that massive, it's a kid's portion. Nah, I'll get my son his own. Well, when the kids portion came out, and this is no word of a lie, in my head I'm thinking about 5 or 6 chicken wings. It was like literally a kilo of chicken wings, and that was child's portion. And when it came out, I said to my sister, this is huge. She said, I told you. She said, I told you. Huge portions. And I was like, that to me is absolutely unnecessary. The kids' portion, in my opinion, was enough to feed a family of 4. It was huge. Well, we had to take it home, and it fed the leftovers, fed like fed us for a couple of days. Well, not I'm exaggerating. We was able to have dinner from it the next day, because there was, my son had his portion and my niece had her portion. It was just huge. And I remember when, and the same for my portion as well. I think I had a sandwich or something. Yeah, and my sister said, Angela, the sandwiches are not like the sandwiches in England. She said, your sandwich is going to be like that. And it literally was stacked up. There must have been about 10 slices of bread. It was stacked up huge like that. I was just like, this is crazy. Absolutely crazy. And then you could, no judgments, guys, because I'm not here to judge, but I thought I can see, why we've got a society that is overweight, because portions are just so massive. And also, we normalise those big portions. In America, they don't have like a 30-gram of crisps, That's unknown. They don't do that. If you want a bag of crisps, it's the family pack, what we consider a family pack. That is that is their bag of crisps, or chips as they call it. Portions are massive, and now over here you can get those big bags, and that's like a portion. So we've normalised big portions, yeah. And because we've done that, that obviously leads to an obesity crisis, because we're eating more. So we when a small portion comes out, we're not happy with that. We think that's not good value for money. What we want to see is a big portion. So, it's become normalised, and for me, I realised that I don't need a big portion. My body certainly doesn't need a big portion of food. But we've normalised it, yeah. And I think that's why so many people gain weight and then find it hard to lose weight, because our portions are completely distorted. And yeah, there is something about what it is we eat, but more so what the portion looks like. Yeah. So there we go, guys. Perfectly wrapped. What do you think? Perfectly wrapped. So again, as I say, I've not put too much tape on because I want them to be able to get into it, but it's got enough that it's just, one bit of sellotape just to secure it down, so they'll still be able to get into it quite easily. But look at that, perfectly wrapped. I'm impressed. Are you impressed? If you're impressed with this wrapping, give this a thumbs up. Yeah. So I'm going to do the next one. So I'm going to show you. So this is my round. I mentioned cutting my paper and then just trimming it into a round. I'm going to put it nice and central in my paper, on the paper. Nice and central. And then I'm going to show you what I do. So from the pointy edges, I'm just going to cut my paper. So I've cut it to my pointy edge, and the next one. It doesn't have to be absolutely perfect, but you want it to the pointy edge. There we go. And even like things like when you go for a meal deal, you know, and let me tell you, I've enjoyed many meal deals, many. But, you know, you start off with, you know, a healthy sized portion, a good sized sandwich. Nothing wrong with that. But then, you know, as part of that, now you can choose chocolates, crisps, drinks, all sorts of snacks. And even with those chocolates, like if you choose like a Snicker, it's like a twin pack. Yeah, it's a twin pack. So I'm just going to turn the face of this over. So when they open it, the back side is going to be, you know, the bits that are... I don't suppose it matters, but, you know, that's just a me thing, isn't it? So, again, I'm just going to take up the flaps, one piece, stick that down, tuck the sides over. So, yeah, you know, instead of just having one, say, like Snicker bar or Mars bar, now you're getting a double, because that's what we consider value for money. And I've done it myself, guys. As I make no judgments. I've done it myself. I'm like, you know, oh, I'll have a Snicker bar, but I'll go for the twin pack. You know, because our portions are distorted. So, yeah. So, as I say, and then, so that's where I was at. And then I, even though I'd lost 9 stone, I still couldn't get my diabetes under control. And that's when, you know, it was suggested that I do MOUNJARO. So, but I'm really happy that I did go on MOUNJARO, because if you've not seen my latest video about my MOUNJARO update, please do watch it if you're interested, because, you know, it's not just the 3 stone that I've lost, 3.5 stone that I've lost on MOUNJARO, but it's all the health benefits and all the risks that I've reduced. So, you know, the fact that the government is giving 3,000 people MOUNJARO, for me, having experienced the not just the weight loss, because the weight loss is one thing, but all the other life impacts that it has, for me personally, it's a really, really good thing, and I really hope that people will benefit. And yeah, I can't imagine it'll just be willy-nilly, here you go, you know. It'll be, I imagine that those 3,000 people will have had to be part of a study, have had to be medically assessed to see if they're right for it, would have had to have all their bloods done, they'd be closely monitored and supervised, all of that, yeah. So I really hope it works for them. I don't know if I told you, but I was invited to be part of a trial. I can't remember if I told you. I might have done. But I was invited to be part of a trial for... it's kind of like MOUNJARO, like the injection, but it's tablet. It's tablet form. So because of my health, years ago, they want to, I'm a guinea pig, but years ago I was asked to, actually this would probably be another good video to tell you about all the trials that I've been part of, or they want me to be part of, but I'll tell you very, very quickly. Years ago, I was asked, because of my health condition, if I wanted to take part in medical trials for the good, to support and help other people. I thought, well, why not? Why not? If they think I'm a candidate, then why not? So I signed up to this scheme, and what happens is, when it's all organised by Oxford Brookes University, because usually, or different universities that are running medical trials, and then what happens is, as and when they're doing another medical trial, here we go, perfect, as and when they do another medical trial, and this is my last one now, I think, my last one, which is a pair of socks for my son, and these were again from Poundland, really beautiful quality, and these, I think these were about £3, and it's 3 pairs, so he's going to be happy with those. So I signed up, and whenever the universities are doing medical trials, they will contact me. So they contacted me about MOUNJARO. I'm pretty sure they contacted me about MOUNJARO, but this is a few years ago. But I didn't respond. Things going on, couldn't get my head around it. But they contacted me earlier this year. I think it must have been about February, March, April, to ask if I'd be interested in another trial. So I was like, yeah, why not? You don't get paid for these trials. You don't get paid. You do it, for the love of science. Okay. So I was like, yeah, why not? So you then go on this database, and they send you out these questionnaires, and more information about the trial. And the trial was for a tablet, a weight loss tablet, to help you to lose weight, and then they would monitor it to monitor the side effects and the benefits of it. Because guys, when a drug company is bringing out a new drug, they don't just launch it. They do trials. They do medical trials, and then they monitor. And that's when when you get that information leaflet, you know what the side effects are, because they have done studies and they've done trials. So they asked me if I wanted to be part of it, and I was yeah, why not. So I signed up to it, and then they obviously are in touch with my medical team, my medical practitioners, and the hospital, and everybody who looks after my care, to see if I was suitable, or whatever checks it is that they do. Anyway, the last stage was I had to go online and complete a questionnaire, and it asks about what medication I'm on and my health and everything. And then at the end of it, it came back and it said I'm not suitable for it. And I was like, that's fine, absolutely fine. But I think I wasn't suitable because I'm on MOUNJARO already. But it's interesting how this trial works. Is they have two groups. They have two groups of people. And one group, they give the real medication. And in the other group, they give a placebo. But they don't tell you whether you're getting the real stuff or the placebo. Because sometimes it's all in the mindset. It's all in the mind. If you, like I told you when the doctor gave me that medication right at the start, and he told me it was like speed, it affected my mindset, and I was thinking, oh, I'm looking out for this. I'm more aware. And therefore, if you think that you're going to get a drug or a tablet that's going to make you lose weight, that can impact your behaviours. So very interesting. It can impact your behaviours, and you could think, oh, I'm on a tablet. It's supposed to help me lose weight. I'm going to do things to support my weight loss, or not, as the case may be. So yeah, so they give you a placebo, but I wasn't suitable, so that's fine. So yeah, but I'm with them, and as and when they want to do another trial, I'm sure they'll contact me. But yeah, years ago they were doing it was a trial for it was a weight loss surgery, and what it is, I can't remember the name of it now, but what it is, it's a little tube, so it comes really small. You have to have surgery, and they set it inside your stomach, and then it expands, and it's like, so your stomach is like there, right? So that's your stomach, and then they insert this tube. It's not the balloon, so it's different to the balloon, but they insert this tube into your stomach, and then it sits inside your stomach, and then when you eat, what happens is this tube, it's like a special material, it just filters out all the nutrition from your food, and then all the waste is collected in this tube, and then it comes out the other end when you go to the toilet. So they asked me if I wanted to be part of the trial, because I was diabetic, and it was a treatment for diabetes. Now we're talking years ago, before like MOUNJARO, and I was like, yeah, okay, I'll do it. So I signed up for it and everything, did all the training. They, the medical team, and the diabetes team, they get you in. I had to do like a 4-week course, and they explained all about it, how it works, and then I had to have a series of one-on-one consultations with my diabetic consultant, and you have all your bloods done. They're proper thorough, and then I had an appointment with the surgeon, and again he did all my checks and talked me through the procedure and everything. And then I was going on holiday, and he said, well, I don't want to do it whilst you're out of the country. I don't want to do it and then you're out on holiday. He said, and I was going on a cruise, because he said, if something happens and food gets stuck or something, it could be really life-threatening, and then we'd have to get you into hospital, and if they get you into hospital overseas and they don't know what it is, and he said, it's just too risky. He said, so we'll schedule you for when you come back from holiday. I was like, yeah, makes sense. I don't want to risk my life, so I'm good with that. Anyway, I had a date and everything, and I was on my way back, and I could still remember it. I was on the coach, because I'd landed. I got the coach back to Birmingham, and just as we hit Birmingham, the city centre, I got a phone call, and it was from the secretary, and she said, really sorry, but we've had to we've had to postpone your surgery. And I was like, what? I was so disappointed. So anyway, about a fortnight later, I got a letter from the consultant explaining that they've had to postpone it, because the trials that they'd already done, they had got some research, and people was having some really serious side effects. And not only had they given you this tube inside your stomach, but now you had to be on tablets for life, for as long as it was in you. You had to take tablets, and some people hadn't taken their tablets as prescribed, and had skipped days, and it was now causing complications. And then the other thing they discovered was that the metal that is anchored into your stomach, it started to corrode. So they had to get people in and get this thing out of them. And then the long and short of it was, that I'm aware of, was it eventually became banned in Europe, including the UK. It was banned. And I was like, bloody hell, excuse my language, but yeah. So I couldn't have it. But for the majority, I think the first trials worked. I think they did a group of 50 people, and the majority of them, it worked really well, and they lost loads of weight, and they were really happy with it. But then, even if one person has negative side effects and they look at it, they're withdrawing it because it's people's lives. So yeah, whilst most people lost a lot of weight and it worked well, the one person stopped taking their medication, so they knew that if you do that, it's going to have adverse effects. But lifestyle means that people are not good with taking medication. And then the other thing, it was corroding. So that is now, if I remember the name, if I find the name, I'll put it on screen for you. So that was banned, so I couldn't have that. And then again, all of these things were because I was diabetic, not so much for the weight, it was for my diabetes. And then I went on Victoza, which is it's kind of like the precursor to MOUNJARO. So I went on Victoza, and then that was a daily injection. So it worked a little bit like MOUNJARO because it affected the hormones, but it was daily. And it was at the time where my lupus was still very, very active, and it was just too much for me to cope with that. My sister went on Victoza, shed loads of weight, and other people who were on it also lost loads, but my mindset wasn't right for me. So he switched me from a daily injection to Bydureon, which was a weekly injection. And that worked better for me, doing it once a week. But again, I wasn't in the right place, so I just had to come off it. So when people are like, talking about MOUNJARO being, this, that and the other, there were things before that. Yeah, Bydureon, Victoza, and probably other medications that you inject. But again, they were all for type 2 diabetics. And then it got developed over time, and then we now have it as what it is, MOUNJARO, tirzepatide, GLP-1. So yeah, it's an evolution, and I've been on that journey of that evolution, not with everything, obviously, because I'm only party to what my diabetes team wanted me to be party to. But yeah, it's been a journey. Anyway, guys, that's it. I've done me wrapping. I can see one more gift for my neighbour that I'm going to wrap in a moment. Oh, and I've got one more here. In fact, I've still got a couple of things, but it'll be in another video. Anyway, that's it for me, guys. Whatever you do, have a lovely, lovely evening, and I'll see you soon. Take care now. Bye.